Adidas proudly present a 111 Pictures production. We are bringing you a revolutionary training tool starring gold medal winner Brandon Slay. These training tapes have many unique features: on-screen navigation, split screen to show multiple angles, and summaries with bulleted points. To use these tapes effectively, grab a notepad, keep the controller close, and let's take it to the mat.
Hi, my name is Brandon Slay. I've been wrestling for a majority of my life. I started wrestling when I was 6 years old, and I'm 26 now. So I've been part of this sport for 20 years, and this sport has taught me more about myself than any other thing that I've been involved in. When I started wrestling when I was 6, life started out pretty tough for me because I lost every single wrestling match my first year, except for one. The only wrestling match I was able to win my first year was because the guy didn't show up. But because I ended up winning that match, I ended up getting a trophy. I ended up realizing that it was special to feel like a winner inside, and it was something that I wanted to continue to strive for. So I continued to stay with wrestling, I stayed committed to it, I continued to persevere, and I went on throughout my career, and I started getting my hand raised more. I started realizing that I felt good to be a winner. It felt good to be a winner in the wrestling room, and it felt good to be a winner in school, in the classroom. I continued on with my dream to be the best wrestler I could be. When I got to be 8 years old, I realized that I wanted to become an Olympic champion. I saw the Olympics in 1984 in Los Angeles on TV, and I realized at that point in time that I wanted to become an Olympic champion, that I wanted to win a gold medal. And I remember telling my grandmother, I said, Meemaw, I said, I want to be an Olympic champion. And she told me, she said, Brandon, you can, as long as you work hard and you believe in yourself. So from that moment on, at 8 years old, my dream was to win an Olympic gold medal. So I continued to work hard and put that time and commitment in. I went through middle school and wrestled, I went to high school and wrestled, had a successful high school career, and because I studied hard and I worked hard, I created an opportunity to come to the University of Pennsylvania and get my degree in finance and management, but also become part of a successful wrestling program. I graduated from the University of Pennsylvania and I moved on to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And from there I worked hard for 2 years to accomplish my ultimate athletic dream of having an Olympic gold medal around my neck. And fortunately, I can stand here today and tell you that thank God and my family, friends, and amazing coaches that I've had throughout my life, I've been able to accomplish that dream. I want to challenge all of you out there watching, whether you're a young man or woman, a high school wrestling coach, a father, whoever you may be, it's important to dream big. One of my favorite quotes is, to achieve the possible, you must attempt the impossible. And to be all you can be, you must dream of being more. So set your goals high and stay committed to those goals. As long as the benefits of that sport or that goal or that dream outweigh the cost, I want to challenge you to stick with it and not give up, because I promise you, it will end up paying off for you. In 2000, an interesting and I believe unprecedented event took place. The Olympic wrestling trials were in Dallas, Texas, and I thought I was going to have to wrestle a guy that I'd wrestled many times throughout my career to make the Olympic team. But one of my good friends, mentors, and coaches from the University of Pennsylvania, Brian Doff, ended up making the Olympic trial finals. And him and I had to battle to make the Olympic team. Well, that was a tough thing to do, but it's something that's become special to both of us. The University of Pennsylvania has commemorated that event by having this picture here that says familiar foes, and it describes the relationship and the match that Doff and I had at the Olympics. Something became special to me as well, as the USA Wrestling allowed me to take a training partner with me to the Olympic Games in Sydney, Australia. And I chose to take Coach Doff. And he was such a blessing, because not only was I taking another friend with me to Olympics, I was taking a coach with me to Olympics, but the cool thing was, he just happened to be the alternate to the Olympics. So what a special trip we had in Sydney, Australia, and it's something that Coach Doff and I will never forget.
The 5 keys to wrestling.
Many youth send me emails and letters, and I see them at many clinics, and they always say, Brandon, what do you think are some of the keys to wrestling? What will help me become a successful wrestler? And that's why I wanted to include what I think are the 5 keys to wrestling on this video. There are 5 keys to the sport of real wrestling. Head up, back straight, hips in, staying off your knees, and staying into the man. Now those 5 keys work for offensive attempts when you're trying to take your opponent down, but they also work for defense when your opponent's trying to attack you. One good example of how those 5 keys to wrestling work for offense is if I try to take a double leg attempt on Dolph. I get into reach, I lower my level, I attack up in to the man, but notice, I have my head up, back straight, hips in. I'm about to come off my knees, and I'm gonna stay into the man, okay? So notice, swisher, I'm gonna come off my knees, because we don't wanna stay down on our knees, and to finish this double leg, I'm gonna stay into the man. So that's an example of how the 5 keys to wrestling work for an offensive shot. But the 5 keys to wrestling also work for defense. A defensive example is if Dolph were to try to attack me, I sprawl, I down block to stop his attack. But notice, defensively, I have my head up, my back straight, my hips are in, I'm staying off my knees, and I'm staying into him, my toes in the mat. Watch what happens if I come out of position, I put my head down, bend my back, my hips come out, I go down on my knees, and I don't stay into him. It gives him a chance to finish the takedown on me. So the 5 keys to wrestling are head up, back straight, hips in, staying off your knees, and staying into the man. And they work for offense as well as defense.
In action, 2000 Olympic Games.
Notice I'm in my stance here. I end up getting it set up, but I'm lowering my level. He fell down, so I didn't have the opportunity to drive across, but I maintained, I stayed into the guy. I kept my hand on his knee, and I continued to drive into him with my head up, back straight, hips in to finish the shot. In review, the 5 keys to wrestling are head up, back straight, hips in, staying off your knees, and staying into the man.
The 5 benefits of being in a staggered stance.
Now let's talk about stance. There's 2 different stances that you can be in. You can be in a square stance where your feet are side by side, or you can be in what we call a sugarfoot stance, or also called a staggered stance. And a sugarfoot stance is where you're leading one foot in front of the other. I think there's 5 main benefits of being in a sugarfoot stance. Let's go to the mat and check them out. There are 5 benefits of being in a sugarfoot stance. The first benefit is that you're in a position to explode into your shot. You don't have to change your feet. You're in a position where right off the bat you can attack your opponent. The second benefit is that it makes you more sure of your feet. You know where your right foot's at, you know where your left foot's at. Your feet don't get confusing to you. The third benefit is it takes away part of your opponent's options. He doesn't have as many chances to take you down. He doesn't have as many weapons to take you down with. The fourth benefit is that it makes you more explosive from your power position. And the fifth benefit is that with leading one leg most all the time, that your defense will get better from there. Because most of the time, if the guy's going to attack your legs, he's going to attack your lead leg for the most part. And with practice in the matches, your defense is going to get better from there. And I'll show you some of these examples. So once again, the first benefit to being in a sugarfoot stance is that I'm already in a position to attack. If I'm wrestling with Dolph right here, and say, for example, I get him to reach, and he reaches for me, now I don't have to change my feet right here. All I have to do is lower my level, and I can attack up into him. I don't have to circle around. I don't have to change my footwork. All I have to do is lower my level and explode. So I'm in a power position to attack. That's the first benefit of being in a staggered stance. The second benefit of being in a staggered stance is that I'm more sure-footed. A lot of guys in high school and middle school, I know they're still learning, but a lot of guys don't want to circle to the right, lead their right leg, and circle to the left, and lead their left leg, and all of a sudden maybe there's an opportunity to attack, and the guy reaches. Well, they normally lead their right leg to attack, but I'm not in a position to score from right here. By the time I try to switch legs and try to attack, Dolph will be already in good defense. All right, so that's the second benefit, is it makes you more sure-footed. The third benefit to being in a sugarfoot stance is it decreases the amount of options my opponent has to take me down with. If I were in a square stance, which is the opposite of a sugarfoot stance, if I were in a square stance, Dolph has many options to take me down with. He can shoot a double leg, and the double leg is easier for him to take me down with because my legs, both of my legs are equidistant from Dolph's hands. They're right in front of me, okay? So he can shoot a double leg on me, he can shoot a single leg, to my left leg, he can shoot a single leg. To my right leg, he can shoot a high crotch to my left leg, shoot a high crotch to my right leg. So as you can see, my opponent, Dolph, has many options to take me down with. But watch what happens when I go to a sugarfoot stance. When I go to a sugarfoot stance, it's like I cut myself in half. I split myself in half. So Dolph doesn't have as many options to take me down with. Now, yes, he can attack to my back leg right here, but if he goes to attack to my back leg, it's pretty easy for me to circle out and prevent that attack. All right? He can attack to my lead leg, but that's where I'm going to be in proper defense to stop that. So, by being in a sugarfoot stance, it decreases the amount of options that my opponent has to take me down with. The next benefit of being in a sugarfoot stance is that I think it makes you more explosive. And one example I like to use is in track, for example, 100-meter dash at the Olympics. How many of you have ever seen anybody start a 100-meter dash like this, right here? All right? I've never seen a track athlete start a 100-meter dash with his feet side by side. Most all track athletes I've ever seen, they start with their feet staggered in the blocks, then they lower their level, and they explode. It's the same way in wrestling. So being in a sugarfoot stance and having your feet staggered makes you more explosive. It makes you quicker to the punch. Okay? And the fifth and the last benefit of being in that sugarfoot stance is that your defense gets better to your lead leg. And that's just through practice and repetition. In practice, I'm always wrestling, always leading my right leg. In practice, I'm in matches, I'm always leading my right leg. And for the most part, when a guy gets into my leg, he goes to attack me, for the most part, he'll be in on my lead leg. And in practice and matches, I'm not going to give up a takedown from here, so I'm going to have to wrestle from this position. So having to wrestle from this position over and over and over and over again is going to increase my defense, my lead leg. I'm going to get better from wrestling from here. Now, will I give up some takedowns every now and then? Probably, in practice. But after time, my defense is going to get better to my lead leg. So the 5 benefits, again, of being in a sugarfoot stance are, number 1, you start out in a power position. You don't have to change your feet to attack. Number 2, you're more sure-footed. You know where your right foot's at, you know where your left foot's at. Number 3 is it decreases the amount of options that your opponent has. Number 4, you're in a more explosionary position. Remember the example of the track athlete? You're ready to attack from there. And the 5th benefit of being in a sugarfoot stance is that your defense gets better for your lead leg through repetition and practice.
The 5 benefits of being in a sugarfoot stance are, the first benefit is you're sure of your feet, you're sure-footed. You know where your right foot's at, you know where your left foot's at. The second benefit is that you're in position to shoot. The third benefit is you're in a power position. The fourth benefit is it decreases the amount of options that your opponent has. And the 5th benefit is it improves your defense on your lead leg.
The knee pound penetration step.
To score a takedown in wrestling, it's very important that you penetrate on your opponent. When I was growing up in Amarillo, Texas, and learned how to wrestle, we learned how to take a step when we penetrated. We took a big step before we penetrated. But by doing that, you have to have some distance on your opponent. So I figured out a way to penetrate on my opponent where I could be close to him, right up next to him. And what I developed is what I call a knee pound penetration step. And that knee pound penetration step, it's just much quicker, it's much faster, and as you'll see, it might be something that you'll be able to use in the future.
There are 5 steps to the knee pound penetration step. The first step, once I'm in my stance, I'm going to lower my level. Step number 2, I'm going to pound my knee, hence the knee pound penetration step. Pound. Step number 3, I'm going to bring my trail leg up into a squat top position. The reason I call this a squat top position is because if I were to have my other leg up, it would be like I was doing squats. Okay? So step number 1, lower my level. Step number 2, I'm going to pound my knee. Step number 3, I'm going to bring my trail leg up. Step number 4 is called a swisher. I'm going to swisher my foot right here. Now this swisher step is something that most guys don't get. This is a very small thing, a very intricate thing most athletes don't get. So watch my swisher foot very carefully. Third step, I'm bringing my trail leg up. The 4th step, I'm going to swisher my knee pound. Knee. Swisher my foot with my toe in the mat right here. The 5th step is I'm going to push off my trail leg and drive up and across. Just like that.
In action, 2000 Olympic Games.
Now we've worked on some technique for a knee pound penetration step. I want to show you in a live match how that knee pound penetration step worked out. Now this is against Buvasa Satiev at the 2000 Olympic Games. He's a 6-time world champion, and it's the first time he'd lost in 6 years. And I want to show you how this knee pound penetration step works. Notice I'm in my stance here. I end up getting a set up, but I'm lowering my level, knee pound, my trail leg's coming up, switching my foot. He fell down, so I didn't have the opportunity to drive across, but I stayed into the guy. I kept my hand on his knee, and I continued to drive into him with my head up, back straight, hips in to finish the shot. So that's an example from a match of how that knee pound penetration step works. And if that knee pound penetration step can work on a guy of this caliber, it can work on anybody. In review, the 5 steps of a knee pound penetration are: number 1, lower your level; number 2, knee pound; number 3, bring your trail leg up; number 4, swisher your foot; number 5, drive up to your feet.
The double and reach setup.
My favorite move in wrestling is a double leg takedown. Now, common sense, double leg, 2 legs. When I'm attacking, it's almost like a football tackle. Because people say, Brandon, why is a double leg your favorite takedown? I think that's because I started playing football when I was in 4th grade, played all the way through high school, and I always played defense, and tackling the guys was something I like to do. And that's why a double leg for me is my favorite move, because it's so similar to a football tackle. We're going to break that double leg down into some specific things that you need to learn to do it. But before you shoot any double leg, remember, you have to have a setup. Before you shoot any shot in wrestling, you have to have a setup. And I'm going to show you my favorite setup, which is I reach, he reaches. All right, now for the double leg. A double leg is my favorite wrestling move, and I'm going to show you this double leg. Before I show you the double leg, I want to show you a setup to the double. Show you the setup to double leg, and I'm going to teach the double leg in 3 different phases. The setup that we want to work on is one that I call I reach, he reaches. Self-explanatory. I'm going to reach for my opponent in the hopes that he reaches for me. As I reach for him, he reaches. Notice how he's coming out of position. He's leaving both of his legs wide open for me to attack this double leg. The setup looks like this. My hands are loose. I reach up soft, hoping he will reach. Notice one thing I do not do. I don't reach up real heavy-handed for him. Don't do that. I reach up with my hands loose, elbows in. I reach up, elbows in. Right when he reaches for me, I'm lowering my level, bringing my arms right back down in my lap. That's the setup. I reach, he reaches. What that does, once again, is it's opening him up so I can attack this double leg. Now I'm going to teach this double leg in 3 different phases. The first phase is the explosion phase, and it's where we're really trying to hammer our opponent and knock him backwards. To knock him off balance so it will increase our chances of getting this takedown. So phase number 1. Phase number 1, I reach. When he reaches, I'm lowering my level, tighten up, and I'm going to explode up into him. With my head up, back straight, hips in. Explode. That's phase 1. I reach, he reaches, bring my elbows right back down in my lap, exploding, up, and into my opponent. Phase 1. Notice where my hand's at. My hands are right behind his kneecaps. This is very important. The reason this is very important is because the strongest part of a guy's body is what I call his trunk, okay? His hamstrings, his quads, his glutes, his lower back. It's called his trunk. In a double leg, I don't want to attack his trunk. I don't want to attack his hamstrings or his butt or his lower back. This is where he's really strong. I want to attack to a weaker point of his body, which is right behind his kneecaps. Like that. I reach, he reaches, hands back down my lap, explode up into him, hands behind the kneecaps. Notice where my head's at. My head is up, my back is straight, and my hips are in. That's phase 1 of the double. Now for phase 2. Phase 2 of the double leg is going to be part of the double leg we're going to prepare to drive across at the angle. Okay? I reach, he reaches, lower my level, explode up into him. Phase 1. Phase 2, my trail leg's going to come up, squat type position. The reason I call that a squat position is because if I were to be stepping up with my other leg, it would look like I'm doing squats. And that makes my position strong because I can push off my quad. So step up, squat type position, and then I'm going to swisher my knee pound foot. Swisher. Notice again, once that swish, a lot of people get confused with that. My knees staying in the mat, my squat
foot staying on the mat, just swisher. Prepare to drive across at this angle at 90 degrees. Not only does it prepare me to drive across at this angle, but it also, if my opponent's driving into me right here, he's driving into me, it takes that pressure off. Okay?
Notice also that the defensive position is very important, that I lean over top of him. I don't want to stand straight up and make it unrealistic for him, because if we're wrestling in a match, I'm not going to stand up like this. In a match, I'm going to be trying to sprawl, thus leaned over top of him. This makes it more realistic for him in his drilling, which will enable him to finish it more properly, and it'll help him know how to do it correctly.
Right. Let's walk through this again, slowly. Phase 1. I reach, he reaches, lower my level, explode, up into the man. Head up, back straight, hips in. Phase 2, trail leg comes up, swisher my foot, and flex. Pulling his legs into me. Flex. It's almost like I'm in front of the mirror, and I want to flex my chest right here. I'm flexing my chest and pulling his knees into me. This keeps him off balance, and it puts all of his weight on one leg, so he doesn't have as good balance on one leg as he would two. Now for phase 3 of this double leg. Phase 1, I reach, he reaches, lower my level, explode up into him. Head up, back straight, hips in. Phase 2, trail leg comes up, swisher my foot, toe in the mat, flex. Now we're ready for the most enjoyable part of this double leg. I'm going to be pushing off my trail leg, that squat leg, where my strength is, and stepping up and across at a 90-degree angle. Notice how I step. Step up and across. Now, I can't see my foot, but I would bet that my toe is stepping right near his toe, toe to toe. Now from here, I'm prepared to drive across this 90-degree angle and finish this double leg. If he circles out from right here, if he just were to move away from me just for a moment, notice the position I'm in. I'm in a stance type position. Now, the very first thing you learned in the sport of wrestling when you went in, the first day you learned the stance. The reason you learned the stance is because it's one of the most important things you can learn in wrestling. It's still one of the most important things that you can learn and know for the sport of wrestling. I reach, he reaches, lower my level, explode up into him. Head up, back straight, hips in. Trail leg comes up, switcher, flex, step up toe to toe, in a stance position, and I'm going to be driving across this 90-degree angle, looking across my opponent's back, and using my neck strength to finish this double leg. Right here. I'm going to run him down. Just like that. I'm going to go through this slow, one more time, explain everything, and I'm going to do a few live ones. Phase 1, I reach, he reaches, lower my level, explode up into him. Head up, back straight, hips in. Remember the 5 keys to wrestling? Those are the first 3. Trail leg comes up, swisher, flex, step up toe to toe. The 4th key to wrestling, remember, was staying off our knees, so that's why we stepped up. And 5th key to wrestling is staying into the man, and that's where we finish this drive. Run, 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 run. Let's see a few live double legs so you can see what this looks like.
In action, 2000 Olympic Games.
Now that I've shown you a few different setups and how you can use those setups to score a double leg takedown, I want to show you one of those setups in action here in a match type situation. Notice I'm reaching up slowly with both hands. He reaches up, I'm lowering my level again, I post both arms, and then I attack up into him with that knee pound penetration step. Hands behind the kneecaps. Again, fight my head up, back straight, hips in, staying into the man, and circle around behind for the finish. Now if a setup can work on a guy like Buvasa Satiev from Russia, this setup can work in elementary school, youth, middle school, high school, college, and all the way to the Olympic Games. In review for this double leg, make sure you set your opponent up. You've got to get him to reach so he can come out of position, so you can lower your level, explode up into your opponent, and then you can continue on with your knee pound penetration.
Finishes.
If the ref hasn't held up 2 points for a takedown on a double leg, you haven't completed the move. So finishing your double leg is extremely important. Let's go to the mat and check out some proper finishes for folk style wrestling and freestyle wrestling. And some of these finishes are cool because you can end up taking your opponent to his back, potentially getting 2, 3 back points, and potentially pinning your opponent.
Now that you know the proper technique for a double leg, it's important to think about how to finish this double leg. Well, there's 2 different styles of wrestling. Folk style wrestling, like we do when we're in high school and college, and then there's freestyle wrestling, which is the style of wrestling we do in the Olympics. In double leg and folk style wrestling, you have to maintain control of your opponent to score 2 points. So for example, if this was the edge of the mat right here, this was the edge of the mat, and I was double legging Dolph, and I was in on his legs right here, and I was attacking him, and this was the edge of the mat. For me to score 2 points in collegiate wrestling, I need to drop, lower my level, attack both of his ankles so I can make sure my toes are in bounds. My toes are going to have to be in bounds for me to get the 2 points in folk style wrestling or collegiate wrestling. But in freestyle wrestling, you do not have to maintain complete control of your opponent to score points. In freestyle, you get rewarded for taking risks. So if you're in on a double leg in freestyle wrestling, I reach, he reaches, I'm attacking, I'm in on a double leg, bring my trail leg up. I don't need to lower my level and drag my ankles or attack his ankles. I can continue to drive up into my opponent out of bounds. And most often I would score a 1-point takedown in freestyle. So that's the 2 different mindsets between freestyle and folk style and how to finish that double on the edge of the mat. But hopefully you're not on the edge of the mat, you're more into the center of the mat when you get this double leg. And if you're in freestyle and you're in the center of the mat, you score 3 points from taking your opponent from his feet to his back. So in freestyle, you want to try to continue driving, staying in to your opponent, driving him to his back so you can get that 3 points. It would look like this. I'll do it in slow motion. Right here. I'm attacking, I'm driving, right here I'm going to drive his back so I can get my 3 points from feet to back. In folk style, I would have to hold my opponent on his back for a 2 count, 3 count to score those points. So I'm just going to finish in folk style. I'm going to try to take him to his back and hold him there if I can, but if he rolls out, I'm still just going to get my 2 takedown. But if you can finish your takedown by keeping your opponent on his back, that's advantageous. And then there's a move that we call a Turk, which I'm about to show you.
In action, 2000 Olympic Games.
I showed you some different finishes and how you can finish a double leg. Here's an example of how a finish can work in a live match as well. Wrestling Buvasa Satiev, use a proper setup, I'm lowering my level, shooting up into him, knee pounding, trail legs coming up, swishing my foot to create that angle. He reacts differently by lowering his level, so I couldn't really drive through him, but notice I'm staying up into him, my head's up, my back straight, my hips are in. I kept my hands on his knee and then I come up around his waist. He's not going to give this takedown up easy because he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. So I have to continue to keep fighting for this takedown. I can't just give this situation up, but I kept pressure into him. I need him up the butt there to knock him off balance, to force all his weight into the mat to finish the takedown. Remember, your work is not done until the referee holds up those 2 points, saying that you have your takedown. So make sure that you finish your double leg completely.
The Turk.
One of the best finishes you can have on a double leg, one which you can score back points or potentially get a pin on your opponent, is a move that we call a Turk. This is what a Turk looks like. If I'm finishing my double leg on Dolph, I'm lowering my level, tacking up into him, swishing, doing all things correctly. When I go to finish here, I do not want to lock my hands. Because if I lock my hands, this is going to decrease my chance of getting this Turk. That's why I just like to attack with my hands behind the kneecaps. And then when I flex, like we talked about before,
I'm spreading his legs, and this is opening up a situation for me to do a Turk. So from here, once I drive, swisher, step up in the cross, I'm driving Dolph to the mat. Right when he lands, the most important thing that I have to do from right here is I have to keep pressure into my opponent. Remember the 5th key to wrestling, staying into the man? That's what this means. This is going to stay into Dolph, keeping pressure into him with my shoulder, toes in the mat, not on my knees. Toes in the mat, keeping pressure into him. That's the most important thing I have to do. Once this pressure is into him, then I'm going to jump right into his bottom leg, straddling his bottom leg with my knees. I'm going to jump right into it. Jump right in. Jump right in, straddling that bottom leg. Right after I straddle this bottom leg, it's important that I explode my hips right into the dog. Get that hip pressure into him. So he lands, right when he lands, stay into the man, keep pressure, pressure, pressure. Toes in the mat, shoulder into him, keeping pressure into him. I'm going to jump into his bottom leg, straddling his bottom leg, keeping my knees together, pressuring my knees together so he can't get this leg away. From there, I'm going to explode my hips into him and go into a push-up position, a push-up type position. Once I'm in this push-up type position and have my hips pressuring into him as hard as I possibly can, I'm going to reach up with my free hand and I'm going to frame his face right here. I'm going to frame the face. Go ahead and pull him around a little bit so we can see this. I'm going to frame Dolph's face. The picture frame has 90-degree angles on it, and that's what we're going to do with our arm. Just make a frame on his face, just like this, okay? Go ahead and spin him around a little bit so you can see that. Frame the face, just like this. Notice as I'm framing the face, hip pressure. I'm maintaining hip pressure the whole entire time. If I let this hip pressure off, my opponent will be able to circle to the mat and he's going to be able to get his legs out. So that's why staying into the man is very, very important. Finish this double leg right when he lands. I'm driving. Shoulders into him. I'm going to jump into straddle position, keeping my knees together. Explode my hips into him. Go into a push-up top position. Keep my hips in. Reaching with my free hand to frame the face. Pushing up with my push-up hand. Hips in. Now the next thing I'm going to do from here is I'm going to lift with my bottom leg as my hips are in. And I'm going to circle my feet towards his feet. It's very important. Some guys want to circle this way. If I circle this way, the opposite way, my feet away from his feet, a lot of times this guy's going to get away, most of the time. So it's important. So I'm framing the face, hips in, push-up position, lifting with my bottom leg, circle my feet towards his feet. Just like that. Now from here, and many times you can get back points and near fall, but you also are looking for a pin. An extra bonus thing you can do from here is I can reach back. If I can reach his foot, I'm keeping my hip pressure in, I can reach his toe. As I'm framing the face, I can pull this toe towards me and bend him in a U shape. And hopefully we can get a pin from here. And that's what we call a Turk.
We just talked about a Turk and how powerful a Turk is. Because not only when you finish a double leg can you get 2 points for your double leg, but if you step into a Turk, you can potentially get 2 to 3 back points or potentially pin the guy. So you're turning a 2-point move and potentially a 5-point move or a pin. Right here when I'm wrestling with Dolph, I'm in on a double leg. I step up, I'm driving across, driving to the mat, and right when I get to the mat, notice how I'm stepping in, bringing my knees together, straddling his bottom leg. It's very important to keep that pressure into his stomach. Drive, keeping that pressure so he can't turn his hips down. And then I'm going to be lifting with my bottom leg, keeping my hips in, lifting my bottom leg, circling my feet towards his feet as I'm taking my free arm and I'm framing his face. And then the arm that I'm doing a push-up with, I'm bringing my hand that's framed the face towards his foot. And then with the option, I can reach back and grab that free foot and bring it towards his face at the same time. That puts a lot of pressure on him, and that increases my chances of getting back points and potentially a pin. So Turk is just a great bonus move, and if you can end up scoring those extra points, I challenge you to do so.
Extra setups.
Now that you know the key components for finishing the double leg takedown, I want to show you some extra setups so you have some more weapons in your arsenal for completing a successful double leg takedown. I showed you the I reach, he reaches setup for the double leg, but instead of just showing you one setup, I want to make sure that you understand there are many different ways that you can get into a double leg takedown. And I want to show you a couple setups that I like to use as well, and then I'm going to let Dolph show you a couple setups that he likes to use. And then I'm going to teach you, if you do happen to get in bad position, that's no reason just to give up the double leg. There's a way that you can put yourself from bad position back in good position through a drill called the knee pound drill. So another step that I like to use for a double leg, if I'm wrestling my opponent like Dolph, and he's not reaching for me, which he rarely does, and so I'm trying to get him to reach. Maybe I reach, he reaches, he's not reaching. I can't get him out of position. So that setup's not working. So that means if that setup's not working, I need to go to something else. And the next setup that I like to use is called a snap elbow pass. And it's exactly what it's called. I snap, I pass the elbow, and that's creating motion for me to finish this double leg. I do it by reaching up with my trail leg hand first. I'm gonna call it my trail leg hand, my trail leg hand, because this is the leg that trails behind. I'm gonna reach up my trail leg hand first, thumb down, and then I'm gonna reach up my lead leg hand, elbow inside, and from here, this is where the snap elbow pass comes from, okay? I'm gonna circle a little bit to the outside to create motion, because I don't wanna snap him right into my legs to increase his chance of getting a takedown. So I'm gonna reach my trail leg hand first, thumb down, then I'm gonna reach my lead leg hand, elbow inside, circle to the outside to keep him from shooting on me, circle to the outside, I'm gonna snap. Doesn't have to be a killer snap, it doesn't have to be a wind up, boom. It doesn't have to be a killer snap, it just has to be a little snap. Reach my trail leg hand first, thumb down, reach my lead leg hand, elbow inside, circle to the outside, snap. From here, this is where I'm gonna elbow pass. I'm gonna pass his elbow down and away towards his far knee. Snap, pass the elbow down and away. Now I want you to notice my feet from this position. My footwork here is going to be similar to this knee pound penetration step, except I'm not going to knee pound. I'm going to end up just bringing my trail leg up, just like I do when I'm shooting a double leg. I'm going to bring my trail leg up, and as I pass this elbow, I'm going to attack a double leg from right here. Bring my trail leg up, notice, swisher, and I can step across, driving across in this double leg, finish the double leg. Remember, head up, back straight, hips in, off my knees, stick into the man to finish. Then I can potentially land, finish into a turn, like we talked about earlier. So that's another setup that I can use for a double leg. Another setup, an extra setup that I like to use for a double leg, is if my opponent, Dolph's not reaching for me with both hands, but maybe he comes up and I get him to reach with one hand. I do what I like to call an elbow post. So I'm in a good stance. He reaches up for me with one hand. Now from here, I'm just going to take my index finger and my thumb. I'm going to lower my level and post the arm at the same time. Lower my level, post. Lower my level, post. And then everything's the same like we've been talking about. Attacking the double, shooting up into him. Knee pound. Head up, back straight, hips in. Attack double, trail leg comes up. Swisher. Flex. Step up, drive, and finish. Like we've been talking about. And those are two extra setups that I like to use. And I know Dolph has a couple setups as well.
One thing that if a guy doesn't reach, as Brandon said earlier, I can get him to reach by faking a shot. 9 times out of 10, if I fake a shot, a guy likes to reach. If I fake a shot, a guy reaches. Okay? From there, I can either go right to the post, or if he's going to back up, which a lot of guys will do when they go to reach, he'll back up. Now I'll snap either his arm, or if that arm's not there, if that arm's down, I'll snap his head. But I want him to go down, so when he comes back up, then I can post and go to my shot. Okay, so I fake a shot, he reaches, snap, either his arm or his head, whichever's there, and then I post as he comes back up. Right to the double leg. Okay, and one more. If he isn't reaching and he's standing really still and I faked a couple times, he still doesn't bite and reach. He's not reaching. The next thing I'll do is I'll just tap his head here. 9 times out of 10, when he comes back up, he's not going to be in good position because he's recovering from being in bad position. Comes up, thumb, and I finish.
Those are 4 extra setups that you just learned besides the I reach, he reaches that we learned earlier. Like those are 4 bonus setups that any of you can use to finish double legs and also potentially high crotches and single legs that you know. If you take a double leg shot and you end up in bad position, which happens to the best of wrestlers, because if I go take a shot on Dolph, he knows I like to shoot double legs. And so when I go to take a shot on him, even if I might have set it up well, he may react and get his hips way back on me. And maybe he reaches back and tries to shove my head down or something. I'm in bad position right here. Okay? This isn't good because I have my head down, my back is bent, my hips are out, I'm on my knees. I don't have pressure into it. This isn't good position. But just because I'm in bad position doesn't mean I should just give up and just let him score a takedown and go, oh, took a bad shot and I'm going to give it up. No, I want to keep fighting from there. We don't want to give anything up in wrestling. So maybe I get in a bad position off a shot right here, gets into me. I'm in bad position from this shot. Now, I do not want to stay in bad position. So my head's down, my back's bent, my hips are out, I'm on my knees. To get back in good position, I have to fight to get my head up, back straight, hips in. But the way I do that is I'm going to bring my trail leg up, just like we do when we shoot double legs initially. I'm going to bring my trail leg up to cock it. Bring my trail leg up. I'm going to pound this knee deep, right back between his legs, so I can fight myself up into good position. I'm going to bring my trail leg up, and I'm going to pound my knee back up. When I do that, it brings my head up, back straight, hips in. Trail leg's going to keep coming up. Swisher, and I can step up, stay in the man, which is the same type of technique that we keep repeating. Take a shot. I'm in bad position right here. This doesn't look good. Doesn't mean I give up. Bring my trail leg up, cock it, pound my knee deep, pulling my head up, back straight, hips in. Trail leg comes up again, swisher, finish, like we talked about earlier. Now I want to let all of you know is that it may take, off this knee pound drill, it may take 2 or 3 times to end up finishing the shot. So you might have to do it a few times to get your takedown. And what I mean by that, so I'm right here, he's got to listen to me, maybe a pound, maybe a pound, maybe a pound. So it may take a few times of knee pounding to finish that shot. But just through perseverance and being tenacious and having a positive attitude and not giving up anything, you're going to increase your chances of getting a takedown on any shot that you take.
Notice on these extra setups that what Dolph and I were doing is that we were focusing on getting our opponent out of position, getting him to reach, getting him to come out of position so we could lower our level, attack up into the man, and finish hard with a strong double leg takedown. Setups are key to finishing takedowns of any kind. I want to tell you about 5 other things that are on my heart. I think there's 5 ingredients to becoming a successful person. 5 ingredients to the recipe of success. And the reason I call these the 5 ingredients to the recipe of success is because I think it's just like making chocolate chip cookies. If you forget to put the chocolate chips and the chocolate chip cookies and the sugar and the flour, those chocolate chip cookies aren't going to taste very good. And that's how these 5 things are. If you leave 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or all 5 of them out, your chance of becoming a successful person in whatever you do is going to be drastically diminished. So the first ingredient to the recipe of success is time and commitment. I started wrestling when I was 6 years old, and I won the Olympic gold medal when I was 24. So that's 18 years worth of time. And I lost many, many times along the way, and I could have quit many times along the way, but I stayed committed to my dream and never gave up on it. So time and commitment is the first ingredient to the recipe of success. The second ingredient to the recipe of success is hard work. And I like to say nothing works unless you do. Nothing's going to work unless you decide to work. You're not going to become a good wrestler unless you decide to go in the wrestling room and work hard. You can't become a good student unless you decide to study hard and work hard in the classroom. You can't be a good friend to somebody unless you decide to be quiet sometimes, let them talk, and work at that relationship. It takes hard work to be a successful person in life. So time and commitment, number 1, hard work, number 2. The third ingredient to the recipe of success is believing in yourself. You have to believe in yourself to accomplish your dreams in life. There is a song that I like to quote, and it says, if you can see it, then you can do it. If you believe it, then you can do it. You have to see yourself getting your hand raised out there on the wrestling mat. See yourself making an A on the test. See yourself accomplishing your dreams. If you can see those things, then you can do them. If you believe them, then you can do them. The fourth ingredient to the recipe of success is something many people forget about. And the fourth ingredient is making good decisions every single day, year-round. Yes, you have to put the time commitment in, work hard, and believe in yourself, but you also have to make good decisions. What are making good decisions? Treating your parents or the people that take care of you with respect and being thankful for all they do for you, respecting your teachers and your coaches for all the support that they give you and all the time that they put in with you, and treating other students and other people the way you want to be treated. That's making a good decision. Other good decisions I think are really important to consider are you can't let alcohol end up controlling your life. You can't let drugs end up ruining your life. You have to be very responsible with your sexuality. I think those are 3 things that you have to really consider as you're growing up, making good decisions. So time and commitment, number 1, hard work, believe in yourself, making good decisions every day, year round. And the 5th ingredient to the recipe of success is using the gifts and the strengths that God's blessed you with to the best of your ability. All of us are different. We're all different colors, we're all different shapes, we're all different sizes. All of our minds work in different ways. But the key thing is you have to figure out what God's blessed you with and take those strengths and those gifts that He's given you and work hard to make those strengths even stronger. One example I like to use, if I walked out there on the wrestling mat and I tried to use my long arms, my long legs, and my amazing flexibility, I wouldn't win very many wrestling matches because I have been blessed with those things. God's blessed me with other things that I use to win wrestling matches. And that's the cool thing about wrestling is it doesn't matter what you're shaped like because we all have gifts and we all have strengths. Figure out what makes you a good wrestler. Figure out what makes you a good person and take those gifts and work hard to make them even stronger. So in final, the 5 ingredients to the recipe of success are time commitment, hard work, believe in yourself, making good decisions every day year round, and using the gifts and strengths that you've been blessed with to the best of your ability. And I promise you take those 5 things and you pour them into your own recipe for success, your chance of becoming a successful person in life and accomplishing your dreams are sky high. And the only person that can stop you from accomplishing your dreams and being successful is yourself. I've had a fabulous time doing this video, but there's a few more things I'd like to cover with you. First off, the moves that you learn in this video can be done on all levels, whether you're 6 years old or middle school or high school or college, or whether your goal is to become an Olympic champion. These techniques can be done in any type of situation. Another point that I'd like to make is that you don't have to know 1,000 different moves to be a successful wrestler. What's important is that you find a set of moves that works well for your body type and for your strategy there out there on the mat. And once you know those moves, work hard drilling them over and over and over, and that repetition will help you to become a successful wrestler. Also know that the smallest things in wrestling, where you put your hands, where you put your head, the smallest little things make the biggest differences in wrestling as in life. I've told you many lessons throughout this video, but I want to tell you the most important lesson that I've learned throughout my whole entire life. This gold medal right here means so much to me. I worked 18 years of my life to accomplish this dream. But as much as this gold medal right here means to me, I believe that there's a greater gold to life. There's a greater treasure to life. There's a greater reward, a greater power, a greater peace. And the greatest gold medal that I have in my life is having Jesus Christ in my heart. When that lady put this gold medal around my neck and told me that I would forever be an Olympic champion, well, that was very special and something I'll never forget. But the gold medal I have in my heart through Jesus is a gold medal that I have forever, truly have forever. And if some of you are missing out something in your life, if you're having struggles or having challenges, I just want to let you know that I have 2 websites, brandonslay.com and greatergold.com. And feel free to go to either one of those websites and read through the sites. And if you ever have any questions about anything, don't be scared to ask me. I've had a great time doing this video, and I hope that I've affected your life in a positive way. Thank you.